Hello, I'm Yonden Lhatoo at the South China Morning Post. Well, we saw the finale of Game of Thrones, and I should not even bother to do this last review because it's not worth the time and effort. The show was that underwhelming and banal and undeserving of this level of attention. But after watching 73 episodes over 8 years of HBO's hugely popular TV series, a gritty, bawdy, exhilarating medieval fantasy epic like no other, something has to be said in parting about this colossal letdown for those of us who used to love it in happier times. Honor demands it. This is the part where I should sincerely warn you of spoilers ahead if you're not up to date with the series yet. But you know what? There's nothing left to spoil. They ruined it real good. During my last rant, when the unstable geniuses responsible for the catastrophe that was episode 3 decided to kill off the Night King and render the narrative senseless, I was still invested enough to wait and see how they would at least attempt over the final 3 episodes to plug the gaping plot holes they'd been digging through shoddy storytelling. No such luck. What they ended up doing is cramming a saga that should have been properly told over several more seasons into just 6 episodes. The three-eyed raven only knows why. Showrunners David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, or D&D, or Dumb and Dumber as irate fans have taken to calling them now, were so eager to meet a purely self-imposed deadline and finish the story within a ridiculously impractical time frame that this is what we get, this unmitigated tosh. They spend up to $15 million per episode for this? Oh, the humanity! Characters whose complex personalities and story arcs were painstakingly built up over years were quickly killed off just like that, in the most unimaginative and insipid ways possible. Only a couple of suits working for a money-grubbing corporation could mangle such a wealth of creative source material in this manner. How do you say "thanks for nothing, idiots" in Valerian? When Daenerys Targaryen morphed into Attila the Hun and burned down King's Landing, I actually relished the mass murder. It felt somewhat cathartic to imagine the entire show, writers, producers and all, being barbecued for this blasphemy. What was the point of mopey-dopey Jon Snow, a total disappointment of a hero with all his endlessly plodding suffering? Watching him over the last few episodes was like depression and flagellation rolled into one. And don't even get me started on low-energy Brandon Stark becoming the king of a post-Brexit Westeros, minus one kingdom after the North pulls out. Bran the useless, Bran the complete waste of space wins the game of Groans, or Game of Thrones. Yay! I suppose it's a convenient plot twist in that Drogon may have melted the Iron Throne, but all they have to do is push Bran's wheelchair into place now and we're back in business. More than 1 million deeply disappointed fans have signed a petition urging HBO to redo Season 8. Of course, there's a bigger chance of the second coming of Christ than that ever happening, but many are also holding out hope that author George R.R. Martin, upon whose Song of Ice and Fire book series the TV show is based, will go his own sweet way and rescue the story when he finally finishes his remaining novels. Fat chance, I say, and pun intended. His 5 published books took the story only up to roughly the end of the 5th season of the TV show, and he's been working on the 6th installment for nearly 8 years now. In other words, he's not going to finish them before he dies in the ultimate subversion of expectations. The only way you can get him to write those remaining books is to kidnap and force him, like Kathy Bates got James Caan to do in Misery, after hobbling him with a sledgehammer to prevent his escape. In old George's case, you may consider withholding his food as an added incentive. He looks like a man who inhales pizzas for breakfast at Chris's Cafe. There's nothing in the world more powerful than a good story, Tyrion Lannister declares in the final episode. Right, and there's nothing weaker than a lousy story like the one we just finished watching. It is written.